Hi, Sue here from Mystic Matters. On this episode of Exploring Popular Opinion, I'm going to look at addiction. Now, there's many types of addiction. And so I'm kind of looking at the energy behind addiction in a general sense. Some people think that people that are addicted are weak. Other people will think that there are addictive personalities, and some people they can't actually help their addictions. There's many different views on addiction. So I'm just going to have a look at the energy behind it. I'm doing the Celtic cross. Nearly there. Okay, this is interesting because it brought to mind something that I heard about addiction. Addiction needs to be treated with love and compassion, and not with judgment. And I remember hearing, I think it was in a TED talk or something, and people said that, or somebody was saying that addiction isn't necessarily the being addicted to a substance or a behavior, that in itself, but it's through an absence of love. And this kind of bears this out in a way, because it's about compassion and loving one another and being open to love, and being receiving of it as well. So it's down to the basic love, and not talking about necessarily a sexual, intimate relationship love. I'm talking about unconditional love. So accepting people exactly the way they are, without expecting them to change because they're not to your particular taste, or they don't have habits that resonate with you specifically, because we're all different. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different things that drive us. So, but love is the basis of what is needed with addiction. And here we have peace and tranquility, feeling our dreams are about to come to fruition, and knowing where our heart lies. And this is something that when people are addicted, they don't have that. They don't have the peace and tranquility. They don't feel they have any dreams. And they definitely don't know where their heart lies, because half the time they're not in control of themselves. And this is where when people treat addicts of any kind with love and compassion, then there will be a feeling of being loved, having hope for a better future. So it really hinges on people being accepted. When I say accepted, I don't mean just allowed just to continue on destroying themselves, but an understanding of the person, not thinking they're lesser than because they have a problem, but helping them with love and compassion to find the help they need when they need it, knowing that if they let you down, then they can still approach you again, not kind of slamming doors in people's faces and things like that. I know there's lots of different scenarios, but if love and compassion is used and you're not being abused by the addict, if there's a situation when you're in danger from the addict themselves, then find them some professional helps, or find them a way of people that can support them without the emotional kind of problem that is caused by maybe being a family member or something like that. But love and compassion is needed, but it can be also tough love. It doesn't have to be all, you know, tough love is hard, but that's also sometimes needed. And also recognizing when you yourself can't cope anymore. It's about our intuition as well, following our intuition. So addiction, when people are addicted, they don't feel as though they're on solid ground. Things change day to day, hour to hour, you know, if not less than that. And they follow their instincts a lot more. Their instincts could be, it's like their addiction drives them rather than any kind of solid plan. So it's difficult to keep up, I think, with people with addictions, because you don't know what they're going to do next. In order to feed the habit or the problem that they have. So it's, again, when we follow our intuition, that's a healthy thing. But for somebody with an addiction, it can make it very, very difficult, because their life hasn't got any feeling of stability to it. It's flitting from one thing to another, and this can be quite disturbing, I suppose. The motivation is to actually look after themselves on a physical level, material level, you know, looking after their bodies, their mind, their souls, trying to get themselves stable in some way, gathering money and resources and things like that, you know, saving money rather than spending it on whatever particular addiction they have. So it really is about their motivation, because some addicts are kind of very far gone with it, and they don't know what to do, and it takes, as I said, tough love sometimes to help them. But there are others that would really want to look after themselves, except they can't do it on their own. They do need the help, but they don't need the judgment. They want to gain some kind of feeling of stability rather than being all over the place and feeling that they're on shifting sands all the time and at the mercy of their instincts. So there is this kind of motivation to get sober, to get straight. When I'm talking about sober, don't just mean with alcohol. I'm talking about anything, to be back in control of themselves, look after themselves in a healthy way, rather than being at the mercy of their instincts. Where the root of a lot of addiction comes from is this feeling of being stuck. And this can be pressures put on people who have got a particular kind of a weakness for addiction. There's some people who are more easily addicted than others. And there's this feeling of kind of, this is the way it is. And when people, maybe within kind of families or friends, or when there's a kind of a pressure put on people to be a certain way and act a certain way, because this is the way it's always been done, they've been put in one box or another. And this is where the needing to escape from these really restrictive ways that are being forced on them. There's a feel, they think, I've got to escape this. Maybe if I took some drugs, I wouldn't feel this kind of trapped. Or if I kind of have a few drinks, then I feel freer. And this is where it starts, is when people don't feel that they are able to be their authentic self, because somehow their authentic self isn't good enough for maybe the people around them, or from what they hear on social media. Or, I mean, obviously addiction goes way beyond before social media, but within their kind of peers, or what is expected of people. And the more restrictions people have, the less ability to be their authentic self, and be proud of that, rather than being judged for it. You know, with this judgment comes a need to escape, a need to somehow be who they are. And the only way they feel they can do that is with an addiction of some sort, whichever way, whatever they feel helps them escape in one way or another. So it comes from the damping down of the human spirit, the trying to make everybody uniform, to make everybody the same, to force belief systems down people's throats, say this is the way it is, you have no right to question that, you have no right to go in a different direction. From what my cards are saying, this is a root of addiction, because if people are allowed to be their authentic selves, whatever that is, and they are loved and accepted, they have no need to escape in order to kill their misery. And this is where my feeling, and what the cards are saying, is with addiction, it comes from being made to feel that who you are isn't good enough, and that you're a disappointment. And this is where it starts. In the near future, it's important that people, well, going forward from where we are at the moment with people who have addiction, people need to look at what is the very best for themselves and for others. So it's important not to force other people to do what isn't right for them. And I'm not, I've put that wrongly. It's getting people to look at what is best for them, not us making a decision what is best for them, but actually coming from a place of love and compassion, and saying, well, what do you want? What is it? Do you want to be this way the rest of your life, or do you want help? Because not everybody can be helped, and not everybody wants to be helped, and we have to accept that. So anybody that's out there who's trying to help people with addictions of any kind, it's important to recognize, and many people in that field will know, not everybody can be saved, and that's soul's personal choice, but to give the help to the people that do want and they need that help, and then get them to decide what's best for them, not to compromise, not to take less than the best for themselves and people around them as well, but just look at what do I need, what's best for me, what can I do for the next day, one day at a time. So it's always needing to be the best. When somebody who has an addiction gets to that point of deciding that I do want to look after myself, I don't want to be a slave to these impulses of mine, then it becomes more smooth sailing, because there's not this, there's still an inner conflict, but it's like, but once the mind's made up, then it becomes easier in some ways, because you know people know what they want, and they know it's not going to be easy to get there, but it does become easier than when you're in a situation, do I want to do this or don't I want to do it? And you're kind of toing and froing. But once the mind's made up that I want something better from my life, I want to be in control of my life, it does become easier, because then all the things that will enable us to achieve that come into place. We get the people, we can get the help that's needed. But again, it has to come from love and compassion. It can't come from judgment, or I'm better than you because I'm not addicted, because a lot of people are addicted to things that they don't even think about. People get addicted to sugar, for instance. You won't get anyone kind of locked up for that, but it's still an addiction. That we've got so many out there. All right. What people see when addiction comes up, there is this inner conflict, and when somebody is in the middle of their addiction, I'll go back to kind of sugar. Somebody can have a big cupboard full of chocolate bars or whatever, and when somebody comes in and says, you need to get rid of that, you need to throw them in the bin, if that person hasn't made up their mind that they want to kick sugar, they're not going to listen. They're going to say that they'll put a lock on that door rather than let anyone get to their chocolate bars, or bottles of alcohol, or their cigarettes. People will fight to keep hold of these things when they aren't ready to release their addiction. And as I said, some people never do. So it is a conflict. It's a conflict with other people, especially when people come in like a do-gooder way. So I'm coming to help you whether you like it or not. Again, that isn't the best way to go, because it feels like, again, a judgment. You're not good enough as you are. It has to go back to this love and compassion, and acknowledging that person. They might not have control of their instincts, but do they want that to last forever? It is a very, very delicate balance, really delicate. In the hopes and fears, a lot of addicts are frightened to come out of their comfort zones. They know their life. They know what they need. They know what their body needs. They know, they have this this kind of, I'm holding on to that. It takes a lot of courage to jump off that cliff into the unknown, especially if they've been addicted to substances or particular behavior for a long, long time. It's their comfort zone, and to say, okay, I want to change, that is truly frightening. And anybody that kicks an addiction should be congratulated, and not judged for why they got into it. That's really not relevant. It's the addiction itself that takes over, and it takes a lot of power. It takes a lot of courage to kick an addiction, and a lot of people addicted don't know if they can do it. They really don't, because when they get the cravings, they're overpowering. They don't know if they're going to be able to make the break or not. So there's this kind of, this is why the Fool is in the hopes and fears. Can I come out of my comfort zones? Can I change my life? Or am I going to fail? Maybe fail again, because sometimes people have tried many times with to no avail. The end of the day here, what can help is having some time alone. So if people have addictions, they might have addictions with a group of people, which kind of normalizes it. So part of becoming unaddicted is actually spending time on your own, breaking away from the people that have no desire to change, and listening to what your inner voice is telling you, rather than listening to what the other people are saying. Oh, one more drink's not going to make a difference. Oh, just have a cigarette. It's not a big deal. All these things will tempt you back, and then again a feeling, oh, I failed again, and then feeling low self-esteem. Once any addict has made a decision that they want to change their life, they want something better, they want to have a more worthwhile life where they're more in charge of it, then they do need to take some time out, maybe a time of meditation, contemplation, and just listening again to what their inner voice is telling them, and not listening to the people who would tempt them back into their previous life. Sometimes it's a case of having to leave home, or go and live in a different place, or not frequent the places that you used to frequent. It is a major deal, and I applaud anybody that has been addicted to anything and has come out the other end and has managed to beat the addiction, because it's not an easy journey, but it comes from not being allowed to be authentic, maybe at a young age, or feeling kind of less than. But it has to come from a place of love, and there but for fortune go you or I. It can happen to each one of us. So it's important we don't judge somebody that's fallen into that trap. Help them to come out of the trap, because it's a lot of power and courage that is needed, and they need the love and support. They don't need the judgment, because that's what put them there in the first place. So that is what the cards say about addiction. Hope you found that interesting, and hope to see you on the next one. Bye.